Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody, and happy Vesak Day for all Buddhists who are celebrating today. I know it's a public holiday, but the market never sleeps. Okay. Especially crypto, which is running 24
Yes,
by 7.
that's right. That's right.
All right, guys. So welcome to our Investors Copy Time today. It's Crypto Thursday. So as usual, we have our Crypto Futurist, Andrew Wong, who's going to share with us now. Because there's been a lot of questions about Bitcoin, especially those who are new. And a lot of times when we bring guests over, a lot of people actually got lost. And I think this is the best time to actually look at, some of the basics on crypto so that you actually understand. And it'll be more valuable if you understand this. And next time when we bring these guests, you can actually get more information from these guys. So Andrew is basically going to share with us what really Bitcoin is, and more importantly, does Bitcoin has a value? I think when the first time I met Andrew Wong as well, I was also a skeptic, because people talking about mining Bitcoins and so on and so forth is like money just being printed out of the tree or out of the computer, right? So I think that's the impression that a lot of people get, right? Whether this is something which we're probably just going to see it for a while. It's just an internet thing where it's going to die off in the future because there's no value. So Andrew is going to answer all these questions in a short while. So hopefully he'll be able to open up your eyes and see really where is the value for cryptocurrencies. All right. So before we start, just make a few announcements. As usual, we have to give a disclaimer here. Please take note that the content of our discussion does not follow or does not constitute any investment advice. Right? It is basically for educational and informational purposes only. So if you want to buy shares or any products or services or any asset classes that we mentioned, please seek a qualified investment professional or a licensed investment professional. All right. And guys, if you are still new with us, we actually have our investors copy time every day at 8 p.m. And we bring you various topics on investments. We have stock investments, we even talk about cryptocurrencies, and most importantly, we also bring captains in the industry, right? We have actually brought CEOs, we have brought an expert, we have brought a professor yesterday, right? And of course, within our equity striker team ourselves, we have various specialists like Peter, who is a fund manager. We have Alvin Wong, who is the CEO of Equity Striker, and myself as a market strategist, who basically do more trading, and of course Andrew, right, who does more, who is actually the front runner for the crypto market, right? Because his knowledge in crypto is actually quite wide, and his connection in crypto is also quite wide, and that's the reason why he's able to bring all these guests in, right, to actually share with you the crypto world. Okay, so we're gonna have this every day at 8 p.m. Tomorrow we have a special theme. It's gonna be on the futures market. We had one last week, so tomorrow is gonna be a continuation. So at 8 p.m. as well, and Saturday, and of course every day we're gonna have a session, right? So please, if you want to follow us, please go to our Facebook page. All right, it's facebook.com/equitystriker, or just search Equity Striker on Facebook. All right, and once you have searched us on, now you're already on our Facebook page. Please like our page, all right, and also follow. And when you follow, please make sure that the notification is on, so that whenever we go live, or whenever we have a video, or whenever we have something interesting to post on our Facebook page, you will get notified. All right, so please like our page and follow us on our Facebook page. Likewise, if you're on YouTube, you can also search us on YouTube. Just search Equity Striker at YouTube, and you should be able to find our Equity Striker channel. Okay, all you need to do is to subscribe the channel, because we also stream our copy time live on YouTube. So you can also we also provide contents and all that and so on over there. So if you subscribe, then you are able to get the notifications as well. So please subscribe to these pages. All right, thank you so much. I'm gonna come to the Equity Striker the charity that we are actually running right now, and where you can actually get exclusive access to our online courses. All right, so I come to that in a short while, but today we're going to run that today's discussion first. All right, before I start, I'm going to show you the three cryptocurrencies and how is it been performing so far, because I think we have covered this about a month ago. For example, like Bitcoin over here, so we see a really strong rally in the past 3 weeks, right? Bitcoin prices has really gone up quite aggressively, from about 6,008 to 9,002. Okay, now if you still remember about 3 weeks ago when we had a copy time session on a Thursday as well, when the prices were trading around 6,004, 6,005, by drawing a simple chart like this, you can actually get. We actually did a sort of a forecast, right? Based on price analysis. We are looking at price of Bitcoin to go up to 8,008 to 9,000 ringgit, right? 8,008 to 9,000 US dollar. Okay, this is Bitcoin to a US dollar, lah. Right? So now it's already there, right? And it is very simple. When you draw trend line, you see that the price is already now at the resistance level of the uptrend line. So what we're going to expect from here is we're probably going to expect some pullback, right, on Bitcoin, because the price has already gone up quite a lot, and it's still trading at the resistance level of that uptrend channel that we see over there, right? And so we're going to expect Bitcoin to pull back a little bit. It's not going to come down, but it's probably going to find support somewhere at around 8,004. Okay. And then if it's able to stay above 8,004 after the pullback, then we should see Bitcoin climbing higher, and we should see it testing the $10,000 level. All right. So provided that it can stay above 8,004, right? So we'll see what happens. So I mean, if you follow us, you could have really made about at least 40% from this movement in the past 2 months, right? And that's the thing about price chart analysis, right? Because one of the things that we teach on our ET online campus is price chart analysis, like what I'm doing over here. So if you're interested to learn about price chart analysis, where you don't only analyze Bitcoin, but you can analyze any asset classes, including stocks, futures, commodities, and so on and so forth, right? So later I'm going to share with you where you can learn all these for free, all right? Ethereum, same thing, very strong movement. Of course, Ethereum, most of the cryptocurrencies move together with Bitcoin prices, right? Because Bitcoin is like the mother of all coins, right? So, that time when we were talking about Ethereum, it was about $140, right? And we were expecting it to go to between 180 to 200. So it's already there right now. Okay, and you can see that the Ethereum has really started to pull back, okay, from the resistance level. Bitcoin is still hovering at that line, okay, the resistance line that you see earlier, but you see Ethereum has already started to pull back. Okay, so we're gonna expect it to maybe just pull back a little bit more, around $190, right, before it starts to continue to go up higher. So remember I told you Bitcoin was probably going to test $10,000. So Ethereum is probably going to test a resistance here around $260 if it can stay within this uptrend channel that we see over here. All right. So as long as it stays in that channel, then the bullish trend is still persist, right? And we should expect the price to go higher. For Litecoin, likewise, because the prices are lower, so you see a little bit more volatility on Litecoin. But generally, the trend is about the same, right? You can see Litecoin has also pulled back and is now near the support, and we're probably going to see some rebound. Maybe we see 1 or 2 more days of decline because Bitcoin is probably going to come down a little bit. But Litecoin should rebound from this level, and if you can stay above the support level at 43, right, where the uptrend support line that you can see over here, right? If you can stay above this level, then which is 43, then it should slowly climb up towards $56, $57. All right. So I mean, if you are able to look at just by looking at price chart alone, we can make certain analysis on the markets, right? And right now, for all crypto coins, you can see from Bitcoin up to Litecoin, they are all in a current uptrend in the short term, right? In the short, why I say short term is because if you look at a longer term and if you zoom out, most of the coins are still in the downtrend in the long term. Okay, so it's rebounding, but if this bullish trend can persist, okay, and break, like for example, Bitcoin, if it can break above $10,000, we may see a change in trend, and Bitcoin may go bullish in the long term, right? But for now, it's still just bullish in the short term, but still bearish in the long term, right? So Ethereum is the same thing, right? If you can break above 260 260 Ethereum to US dollar, then it may turn into a bullish trend and the price may able to go higher. All right. So that's how the Bitcoin prices look like. So obviously, when markets are uncertain, right, there are a lot of money moving into the cryptocurrency market, which is what we are seeing now. How do we know? As long as the trend persists upwards, that means there's still a lot of interest in crypto, right? So there's been a very strong interest in the crypto market since the COVID-19 pandemic started to really explode, right? That was in mid of March, right? And markets just started to rebound, including cryptocurrencies, right? So that's the update for cryptocurrencies. And now we'll take a look. Now Alvin pula, because Andrew is Alvin's brother, like, so sometimes confused, man. So Andrew, right? So you're gonna share with us, right? One of the things that of course investors will always want to find is the value of a cryptocurrency, right? And I'm sure when you did the research, when you presented to us at Equities Tracker, when you presented, it's like for me, it's like it's an eye opener, lah. Right? I never thought it that way, and hopefully that you are able to also open the eyes of our audience today as well and see where the value is in Bitcoin first, because most of the currencies are tied to Bitcoin right now, right, Andrew?
Yeah. It is. In fact, it's interesting, right? Because over time things have changed. I still remember back in 2017, there were some coins that were positively correlated with Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin goes up, that coin goes up as well. For example, Litecoin, it's quite positively correlated. Then you have those coins, the other altcoins that were negatively correlated. So when Bitcoin goes up, this coin goes down. Then when Bitcoin comes down, the altcoin goes up. That was quite interesting to see, because you could actually see the traders trading between the coins. So they are selling their Bitcoin and putting their money into the altcoins. But now, in general, it's been when Bitcoin goes up, just about everything else goes up.
Right. So it's like the Bitcoin is still like the US dollar for currencies, lah. Everybody back to Bitcoin.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Because of course, right now, even in money, in currencies, right? Since 1970s, we have actually get out of the gold standard, and now it's all it's just paper, which is being guaranteed by governments. Okay, so it's just basically paper guaranteed by governments. So of course, there is value in that, because the thing is that a lot of currencies are being pegged to the US dollar as well. Okay, and then of course it was previously from gold, and now it's being taken off. So people are also questioning whether the paper money that we have now is actually has value or not, right? But because it's accepted, I think one of the things that you mentioned was because of the acceptance, people are still using it as an exchange for goods, right? So for Bitcoin now, how do we see Bitcoin, right? So that's what we basically want you to share with the audience and tell them basically where is the value in Bitcoin. So over to you, Andrew.
Okay, thanks, Benny. Okay, so I hope everyone can hear me okay, because I'm sitting a little bit far from the laptop. Look, welcome this welcome to Crypto Night, to join us for coffee time this evening. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin from a different perspective. So if you have heard of Bitcoin, you have probably read a lot about it. You have probably seen a million YouTube videos to tell you what Bitcoin is and how it works and all that. Today, I'd like to offer a slightly different perspective, where we look at Bitcoin, from a little bit more from an investor's perspective, because many times when mainstream media tries to describe it, yes, they describe what it is, they describe the why, but tonight I'd like to offer a slightly different perspective, a slightly different angle. So if you're just joining us tonight, welcome. I'm going to start the presentation, right? So tonight we're going back to basics, right? We want to know, is there value in Bitcoin? Obviously, this is our standard disclaimer. We just want to, let everyone know that this is for educational purposes only. Do not go out and buy Bitcoin after tonight's session. Do not go out and short Bitcoin either, right? Don't do anything. If you're going to make any financial decisions, please consult with a professional financial advisor. Okay, so tonight everything is educational purposes. I'm hoping to enrich some of your minds to sort of see this different angle of Bitcoin. Okay, so oh yeah, obviously, Benny mentioned earlier that if you wanted free access to the ET platform, now you can get it for free for 2 weeks. You can just send a message to the number of +603-8408-2070, right? And from there, if you haven't registered before, it will automatically ask you your name and your email, and it will register you to give you 2 weeks, 2-week free trial account on our platform. Now, obviously, yep, investors copy time. Okay, so now, when you look at, so I'm going to go back to stocks, right? Because we're talking about value, how people perceive value. And obviously, the metric to measure how people perceive value is they assign a dollar value to it, right? So obviously, whether you're talking about shares or you're talking about Bitcoin, right? People assign a dollar value to it because that's the metric to measure how much value there is. So just to paint a big picture, right now there are 4.2. First of all, there are around 7 billion people on Earth right now. Okay, and of which 4.2 billion people are internet users. So they either access the internet through their laptops, through their smartphones, through their desktops or whatever. Of that, right, Facebook has 2.6 billion users. So a significant amount of internet users actually have a Facebook account. So I assume those who are in China don't have a Facebook account, right? Because Facebook is banned. Obviously, they can still get around it by using VPNs and whatnot. But basically, there are 2.6 billion users, Facebook users. WhatsApp has 2 billion users. Now, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. It wasn't owned by Facebook, but then Facebook bought it for $19 billion with zero revenue. Okay, zero revenue. Facebook paid $19 billion to acquire WhatsApp. Why? Well, let's find out why, right? Because obviously now they have 2 billion users. 2 billion out of the 4.2 billion, so almost half of the internet users are on WhatsApp. Gmail users, there are 1.5 billion Gmail users out there. So obviously everyone who has an email address, I mean, you've got all the free ones. You've got the Hotmail, which was the first webmail, I think. Then you've got, the Yahoo, and you've got Gmail and all that. So Gmail has around 1.5 billion users. Bitcoin users, right, or people who use Bitcoin and own Bitcoin, is estimated at roughly 20 million users. So quite a small percentage compared to the overall picture, right? So very small, which potentially means it's very early days, right? But small, very early days. Okay, so we move on to the next slide. Now, remember I was talking about valuation, right? So if you look at the first one, which is WhatsApp. So WhatsApp was valued at $19 billion when Facebook paid. So it was generated. So today it has 2 billion users, right? I think when Facebook bought it, it was probably less than that. It was maybe 1 billion users or so. But Facebook, it generated zero revenue, right? Nothing. It wasn't much. But Facebook paid 19 billion. So think about it. Now the perception, or at least the perception of value, or why would Facebook, now would anyone say that Mark Zuckerberg is dumb? Probably not. I mean, he's a pretty smart fella to to get to where he is today, right? Obviously, he's got a lot of smart people working for him, but he's pretty smart because so why would he pay $19 billion to acquire a messenger app? Obviously, he had Facebook Messenger. Why would he need another messenger? Now, I think when you think about the internet, it's about the number of users, the number of eyeballs, the number of people who are actually using your platform, right? So obviously, Mark Zuckerberg thought that WhatsApp was worth the $19 billion, and it was probably a steal, right, at that price. Now, today, as of today, Bitcoin is worth around 170 billion. So when I say worth, so that is the number of available Bitcoin times the price of Bitcoin. So one Bitcoin today is around 9,003, right, at current time, and so and it has around 20 million users. Then you're thinking, oh, hang on, 20 million users, isn't that overvalued? Well, we don't know. We'll see, right? Then Facebook, obviously. So Facebook's market cap is 594 billion, right? So it's over half a trillion, right? And it has 2.6 billion users. Obviously, Google is close to $1 trillion, right? At 1.5 billion users. Now, we're talking about users. And then we're talking about the valuation of these. So it doesn't mean, the more users you have, the higher the valuation. But it does show that there is value in the number of users on your platform, right? Now, so that brings us to the question of, so what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is many things to many people, right? It is, to some people, it is a store of value, right? To others, it's got some banking functions, right? You can pay people with it, and it is also a global payment network. Obviously, the other global payment network is SWIFT. That's the one that the banks use, right, to do interbank transfers. But nothing is stopping you or can stop you from sending Bitcoin from person A, say Alice, to person B, Bob. Alice is in Malaysia, Bob is in the UK. Alice can send money to Bob in under an hour, right? Using the Bitcoin payment network. So essentially, Bitcoin is many things to many people. To some people, it is a currency. Some people, it is store of value. So instead of holding on to gold, they hold on to Bitcoin, right? And to some people, it is an ideology, or it is a philosophy, right? Where it is about living freely and whatnot. So different things to different people, right? So today, let's focus on the global payment network. Let's just focus only on one thing, because it's all of the above, right? It's so many things to so many different people. But let's just focus on the global payment network. Now, out there today, right, everybody knows who MasterCard and Visa are, obviously, and American Express, and then Union Pay from China, right? So these are all payment networks. Now, these are all global payment networks, obviously. So if you get issued a Visa card or a MasterCard in Malaysia and you go travel, well, these days no one's traveling, right? You can't even travel interstate. But if once we find a cure and we have a vaccine, I'm sure we'll start traveling again. But if you were to travel and you were to go, I don't know, Timbuktu, right? And you didn't have the local currency on you, you could just whip out your Visa card or your MasterCard and you just tap on it or you swipe it and you pay for it, right? So MasterCard, Visa, Union Pay, American Express, they are what we call non-internet-based infrastructure, right? So they've actually built their own networks. So you notice when you go to the groceries, right? You have the counter, you pay for it, and you tap on it. It always tries to connect out, right? And then it will come back and print your receipt once they acknowledge it. This is known as a centralized structure. So obviously, MasterCard built and own their own network. Visa built and own their own network. Same with Union Pay, same with American Express. So this was the first wave, right? Obviously, the first credit card was issued in the 1950s or 1960s, Diners Club. So that was the first credit card. Then the other ones came along and built their networks and their empire along with it, right? So if you think about it, credit card technology is 40, 50-year-old technology, okay? So then came the internet. Obviously, in the early 90s, the internet was a little bit slow, but as speeds got faster and faster, right, it became more and more viable to ride on the internet open network to then come up with a payment network. So you have Alipay, you have the WeChat. Obviously in Malaysia, there's a ton of e-wallets. You've got the Grab wallet. You have, all the other ones, right? So these are internet-based. So it uses the internet's infrastructure, the open network of the internet, and it just rides on top of it, and you can use that for payment. So these are payment networks, Alipay, WeChat, right? Again, these are centralized. When I say centralized, it means that it is owned by Tencent, right? It is owned by Alibaba, right? It is owned by Visa, it is owned by MasterCard. So then we move on to an internet-based infrastructure, right, which is the same as Alipay and WeChat, except it is decentralized. Now, what is decentralization? What do you mean by decentralization? The decentralization, if you fall back onto network engineering or computer science, it's essentially distributed computing. So meaning, it is not centralized, obviously. So it's not really owned by any company, but it is also owned by everyone. So what do I mean by that? For example, who owns the internet? Nobody, everybody, some people, some companies, right? So it's like a public good, right? So decentralized, it's like a public good. So everyone who owns the park? Well, obviously the park is owned by either the government or it could be a private entity. But, the internet, right? Parts of the internet are owned by the ISPs and all that, but who owns the entire internet? So no one really owns the entire internet, right? So it is like a public good. So that is the next evolution, right? So you went from building your own network, right? Spending millions and billions to build your own network, to then not needing to build your own network, but just riding on top of existing infrastructure that was built, which is the internet. And because as speeds got faster, it became more and more viable to do so. And then as infrastructure became better and even faster, the clever people who came up with it, right? They decided that this was the next evolution of what a decentralized payment could be, right? So that was how Bitcoin came about, right? So let's look at some valuation of these payment networks, right? If we looked at Amex, American Express, they have around 114 million cards issued globally, and they are valued at 67.6 billion, right? Then you have Bitcoin, which is valued at 170 billion, right? And around 20 billion users, right? You can't really see the number here, but anyway, there's 270 billion, 270. Mastercard is valued at 270 billion, and it has. I'll tell you how many users they have a bit later. Then Visa is valued even higher at 380 billion, and it has over 3 billion cards, right? So almost half the population on Earth have been issued a Visa card. Right? Then you look at WeChat. Right? WeChat is valued at over half a trillion, right? Half a trillion bucks, and they have 1.1 billion users. Right? So, you know what they say, that the joke that they say, if you go to China and you're using cash, they can tell that you're the tourist, because only tourists use cash, right? Everyone else will be using WeChat Pay or Alipay. So I talked about perceived value. I talked about companies that see value. Like why would Facebook pay $19 billion for a company that was generating zero revenue? Why? Because of the network, right? Because of the eyeballs, because of the people. So there is now value in the network. So now you are now assigning value, right? And the metric is dollars and cents. You are now assigning value to a network. So these networks, all these payment networks here with the number of users and all that, there is a value to it, right? So Bitcoin also has value to it. Now, if we just compare the payment systems, right? And these are all the latest FY19, right? So if we look at Visa, the revenue was 23 billion and the net profit was 12 billion. So their net margin is 53%. That's huge, right? So networks, I mean, to have a net margin of 53%, you must be doing something right. Right. Then you have MasterCard, right? Its revenue is 16.9, so almost 17 billion. And its net profit is 8 billion. So also almost 50% net margin. Then you look at Amex, right? Amex is 45 billion in revenue. So in fact, 45 billion is, they probably have the highest revenue. Sorry, I think the numbers might be a little bit wrong. I will go back and check on that. Sorry, I was rushing to get this done. But anyway, so I think that the net margin is correct at 12.4%. Obviously, WeChat, right, is which is Tencent. Their net margins are around 25%. Now, then you have Bitcoin. Right now, before the halving, and you want to know what the halving is, which I'll talk about a little bit later, is 6.5 billion, and the net profit is 3.7 billion, which means that the profit margin is around 58%. Now, there are publicly listed companies out there. One of them is called HUT8, HUT, and then number 8, right? So they're listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and they actually do Bitcoin mining as their operations, and I think their margins are around 58%, right? So what they so first of all, you want to know, how did I arrive at 6.5 billion? So we made an assumption, right? Because we just wanted to do some simple calculations, that Bitcoin is at $10,000. So if Bitcoin is at $10,000, right? And so if I were a miner, you've heard of what mining is, right? You might not know what mining is, but you can engage in Bitcoin mining. Basically, you buy these mining machines, mining rigs, you plug them in, and then you start running them. It costs you money, right? But it also earns you Bitcoin, right? So when you engage in Bitcoin mining, now with Bitcoin mining, anybody can do Bitcoin mining. You can do it at home. Well, I probably wouldn't advise doing it at home, because each miner probably sucks up. It's like a 2 horsepower. It'll use a lot of electricity. It's like a 2 horsepower aircon, right? That you're running 24/7. So assuming that Bitcoin is at $10,000, right? And every 10 minutes, it gives out 12.5 Bitcoin, right? That means it releases 12.5 Bitcoin and pays the miners for mining, okay? Obviously, you're competing with all the other miners out there around the world who are also mining. So, you're competing against them to mine. Now, which means every 24 hours, there is the potential to earn 1,800 Bitcoin every 24 hours, right? So in a year, you end up having the potential to earn, or the entire mining community will earn 6.57 billion dollars worth of Bitcoin, right? Obviously, the miners can choose to sell the Bitcoin, or they can choose to hold on to the Bitcoin, or they can choose to sell some and keep some, right? Because they think the price might go up. So Then obviously, there's a net margin because you have costs. You have to pay for the mining rig. You need to maintain the place, right? You need to maintain your mining rig. You need to, depending how big your operations are, you might need staff. Obviously, you need to pay for rental, pay for electricity, and all that. So there is a mining cost to it, right? So obviously, with all that, they're still making a margin of about 58%. So pretty good margins, if you ask me. So then that gets us to ask the question: what gives Bitcoin its value? Is there value in Bitcoin? So
Okay, so sorry.
Yep.
Because there's a question about how do you actually get the revenue and the margin, right? So basically, you are saying that the margin is that 58% is where if you actually mine Bitcoin, all right,
Yep.
and if you sell it to the network, you will get a 58% margin. Is that what you're saying? Is it based
okay.
on?
So this margin is actually based on Hut 8's latest financial release. So they are a company that's actually listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Their main operations is to mine Bitcoin, well, amongst other coins, I guess. So they will need to first of all pay for the machines, right? Obviously, then they need to pay for electricity. They have to pay for their staff. They have to pay for rental of the facility. So whatever they've mined, they have to pay off the running costs. So this figure is actually EBITDA, right? So before depreciation, because your mining rig will be depreciated. It's like a machinery, right? If you run a manufacturing company, then obviously you have to depreciate your plant and machinery. So so that's kind of how I got it.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing, I think there's also a question earlier on. I think I know maybe this is not the time to actually explain because the centralized and decentralization, right?
Yes.
I mean, if the person doesn't grasp the concept, how what's the difference between a centralized payment system, of course, because you're referring to the payment system, right, and a decentralized one. I'm not sure whether you want to explain a little bit about this.
Yeah. Look, we can. So okay. So a centralized system means, for example, right? Before Uber came to Malaysia, right? We had taxis, right? So the taxis all came in under like a central body, right? That there was a taxi. So if you wanted to be a taxi driver, you would need to, get your license. Obviously, you need to have all the right things. Then you can be admitted, and then you're part of that taxi network, right? So you are so that's a centralized model if you think about it. Then came Uber and Grab. I mean, now it's Grab, but Uber came in first, then after Grab came in, where they said, look, anybody can be a taxi driver, right? Anyone can be a driver. You just have to download my app, right? And then suddenly anyone and everyone is part of that network as well. But then anyone and anyone can participate and they can come off it as and when. So I remember being in one of the Grabs where the Grab driver was actually on the way home from work. So and they can set, I want to go from here to here. So on the way home, they decided to just earn some money for petrol because they were going to go that direction anyway. I'll go pick someone up, head towards around the same area, and then that pays for my petrol. So a decentralized model is like the Grab model. I'll give you another example. A centralized model is like hotels. You got the Hilton chain, right? You got the Sheratons and all that. And then came Airbnb, again, software, right? Anyone and anyone can suddenly become a hotel. So that is a decentralized model. I hope that explains it. So with Bitcoin mining, so obviously, you have the banks, right, that process payments, like I said, the SWIFT network, right? If you want to transfer, I don't know, money to your children who's studying overseas or whatever, you have to go to the bank. You have to, send from your Malaysian bank account into the Australian or the American or UK bank account, and it uses the SWIFT system, right? So that is a centralized model. Then you can just jump on Bitcoin and you just get your child's, your son or your daughter's Bitcoin wallet address, and you just send them Bitcoin. And obviously, over there they can then send it straight to their Coinbase account. Coinbase is where you can buy and sell Bitcoin, and they can then sell their Bitcoin for UK pounds, for GBP, right, for pounds, and then you send money across. So that's the difference between centralized and decentralized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I remember you telling me also that time is like because the job, for example, if you are going to the Visa network, right? So the job of Visa network is to basically look at the transaction itself to provide a proof that there is a transaction between two parties, right? And then also that you can actually see where the money, of course, obviously where the money comes from, where the money goes to. Right, and so I suppose that in a Bitcoin transaction, and this is basically verified through what we call the mining, right? Am I right?
Yes, correct. So this concept will be a little bit,
yeah, I mean, because the problem, if I think people think about mining, is like you can just mine things off the computer and
yeah,
right.
yes. I think the the use of the term mining throws a lot of people off, like, because they really literally think it's mining. Really, if you think of the Airbnb model, if you think of the Uber and the Grab model, it is essentially that you're bringing your own car, and you're part of the network, right? And you're a taxi driver, right? And then you drive people. You're participating in that network. You can come in and out as you wish to. So essentially, as a miner, you bring your own mining rig, you plug it into the network, and you are servicing the network, right? Just like if you're a car, you're servicing the Grab network, you're servicing the Uber network. If you bring your apartment, right, you're servicing that network. You're essentially servicing that network, so you can come in and out as you wish to, right? Yeah. So let me. So what gives Bitcoin its value? I suppose there needs to be acceptance as a store of value. Obviously, people need to want Bitcoin, right? Need to think that it's actually real, and they believe in it. And there are companies out there, publicly listed companies, right? These are not just normal companies, but they're scrutinized by the authorities and the regulators, and their operations is just mining Bitcoin, and that's it. Like, that's their business, right? That's their business model. And like I was talking about 𝐷𝐬𝐳, there's a 58% margin, right? Which is really high, right? Which is quite a high margin. Then what else gives Bitcoin its value? It's infrastructure. What do I mean by infrastructure? Infrastructure is, if you think, so 2 and 3 are quite related, right? So the infrastructure that's been built on Bitcoin, if you think about it, how much do you think a bank would spend on their computer systems? Millions and millions and millions, right? Because I used to work in the banking industry, and it's actually, they have some big iron, like heavy duty systems that they have to put in. So obviously, look, Bitcoin might not be as sophisticated, or well, actually it's really sophisticated, but it might not be as fancy and slick looking, right? Looks a bit rough, right? Diamond in the rough, but the Bitcoin network works, right? It works. And so the infrastructure that's been put in, now imagine, right? There are, these mining rigs, depending on when you bought them, right? It would cost anywhere from a few $1,000s to, $10,000 ringgit, right? Per mining rig. And so, but the thing is, anyone can buy these mining rigs, obviously. So anyone can participate in this network. Obviously, you don't have to participate in the network just by mining. You can just be a user of the network, right? So you can you can use your phone, you download a what do you call it, crypto wallet, and from there you can just start using the network. But then you've got these miners that are supporting it as well. So that's that infrastructure. The global network, obviously, you look at Visa, you look at MasterCard, right? It's a global network. So that gives it value, obviously, because as we can tell from traditional businesses, there is a monetary value that's assigned to this network. Obviously, users, right? You need users on the network. Right now, there's only 20 million, but that's because it's still very early days, right? So hopefully, as more and more people debunk the myths about Bitcoin being a scam, and a lot of people call it a scam because they don't understand the underlying technology behind it or around it, or its governance, right? Because people ultimately you need to understand a bit of computer science, right? And you need to understand economics, and amongst other things, right? Game theory and all that. But really, if you think about it, once you understand something, then you will see the value of it. So I hope just by focusing on that one aspect of Bitcoin being a payment network, I hope some of the users will view it from a different perspective and actually see value in that. Because when you start making that comparison against traditional companies right now that are doing exactly the same thing, and yet people assign value to it, why shouldn't there be value assigned to something that does exactly the same thing? Probably more efficiently and faster. Okay, so the next big thing in Bitcoin, I think everyone has heard about the halvening. What is the halvening? So in, I think, approximately 4 days or 5 days, we're going to go into what's known as the halvening. It is the third halvening, right? The third halvening. What does this mean? It'll probably take me a while to explain what halvening means. I will just, it is essentially a reduction in the inflation rate. Okay, it's like, huh? What? Reduction in inflation rate. So, okay, I'll just go through, right? The first halvening happened on the 28th of November, right, in 2012, right? So Bitcoin was switched on January 3rd, 2009. And a halvening happens every 210,000 blocks. Each block is 10 minutes. So it's approximately 4 years. Approximately, right? But you can never tell this one. So first halvening happened 28th of November 2012. So from releasing 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes into the system, it halved. It is from the 28th of November onwards, it started releasing 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes into the network. And then the second halvening happened quite recently, right? Almost 4 years ago. 10th of July 2016, it stopped. Well, it didn't stop, sorry. It started releasing, instead of 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, it only released 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Now, when I say release, that means you're increasing the supply of Bitcoin into the total system. You're increasing the supply of Bitcoin every 10 minutes, right? So, but now it's reduction. It was 50, then it became 25, then it became 12.5. And in the next 4 days or so, right, it's gonna go from 12.5 into 6.25. So now every 10 minutes, it only releases 6.25 Bitcoin, right? So essentially, it is a reduction in the inflation rate of Bitcoin. So now, so I will get to that, right? So after the halvening, effectively, your inflation rate of Bitcoin is at 1.8%. Okay. So what is the current inflation rate of Malaysia? I mean, it says about what, 6%, right, or something like that.
Officially 3 lah.
Officially 3. Oh, okay. But what is the real inflation rate, right? We don't know. Now, obviously, there are many things that cause inflation. One of them is actually money supply. So I will go through very quickly, right? In terms of money supply. So if you look at money supply so we talk about M2. M2 is the definition for the money, right? So money supply in Malaysia in 1974 was 8.7 billion. I've only got numbers up to 2018, right? Is 1.7 trillion. So in 44 years, right? Our inflation rate is 12.84%. So not inflation rate, sorry. the increase of money supply, right? The increase of money supply year on year, every year, is 12.84%. So effectively, if you hold only cash assets, or if you're putting your money into fixed deposit to earn that 3% every year, right? You earn that 3%, you are losing your value is shrinking by 12.84% every year. Okay, that's effectively what is happening, because it is dilution, right? So if total money supply in Malaysia was 100 ringgit and I had 10, I would have 10%, right? I would have 10% of total money supply. But if they added more, they created more money into the monetary system, and now instead of $100 in the total monetary system, there's 200 ringgit, right? And I still have my 10 ringgit. I now effectively only have 5% of total money supply. So my net worth has shrunk, really. The value has shrunk by half, right? So if you think about this, right? So now what is the halving? It is effectively a reduction in the inflation rate, so to 1.8%. Whereas this is every year, right? It's going up. The money supply is going up, which means the value of the cash that you have is shrinking by 12.84%. What is it in Singapore? 10.86%. What about the States? 6.54. So if you look at it, it's quite amazing. The US hasn't actually been printing as much money as we have. Now, I know they now have unlimited QE, right? I think I did a quick calculation before coming on the show. It's really not that much. I think it's only at 6.58 or 6 point whatever, based on the current figures. So, but still, Bitcoin is at 1.8%, right? That means I'm printing less. So sometimes you ask yourself, wait, how come the ringgit is so little compared to the Sing dollar? Oh, I suppose they less money, right? So okay, I'm almost at the end of my presentation, right? So we have. So this is the first halving when it went from 50%, 50 Bitcoin into the Bitcoin network every 10 minutes down to 25. What happened within the year? So from November 28, 2012 to November 28, 2013. The price of Bitcoin rose 9.2,000%, 9,200%. What happened in the second halving, which happened in 2016, so almost 4 years ago? So again, look, I only took from July 9th, right, through to July 9th of 2017. And obviously, I think everyone knows that in 2017, December and 2018, January, Bitcoin hit a peak of almost $20,000, right? But if I look at just that 1 year, what happened? So the second halving, that was 293. Look, obviously, there's only two halvings. So, historically, it doesn't mean that it's going to go up in this third halving. In fact, if you look at the halving, the first halving and the second halving, right after halving, it drops a little, right? And then then it went up, right? So so the last one was at 293% after a year, right? The increase in price. So that halving is coming up in 4 days. This is not financial advice. Do not go out and buy Bitcoin, right? I am just I'm just showing you what's available now. Later on, I think in my next slide, so we've got a new series of articles that we're writing on crypto to help the public understand it a bit better. So later, just WhatsApp us on, or maybe late tonight or tomorrow morning, WhatsApp us on +603 8408 2070 and download the deck, and there will be a link there as well that gets you to the article. So this is we call it the Crypto Foundation series, right? So we'll drip feed one every week to our viewers. So do tune in. And all right, Benny, I think we better take some questions, right? Sorry, I've been talking all the whole time.
No, no worries. So we'll come up with questions, but before that, we have some announcements before we answer some of the questions. I think I also have some questions for you ready. So before we go to the questions and before we conclude, now I just want to share with you a few things. One of them is our Equities Tracker online campus. This is where, let me see whether I share my screen. Okay, now this is where you can actually access into our online courses for free. If, and you can access this for free as long as you make a minimum of 100 ringgit donation to any charity. All right, any charity. Now, if you do not know which charity to go to or to donate to, you can go to charity.equitiestracker.com and we'll have a list of charities where you can donate to. All right. So in our ET Online campus, this is where you get video tutorials. We have about 20 hours of video tutorials on value investing and also price chart analysis. All right. And you also get about another 20 more hours or so tutorial on the application of what we have learned. The application of using the Equities Tracker platform and application of price chart analysis on investing.com. Right. So we give you a whole package here to build your foundation into investing. All right. So all you need to do is to make a minimum of 100 ringgit donation to any charity and then log on to charity.equitiestracker.com to register there. Okay, and then you'll be asked for a receipt where you donate to. All right. And once you have done that, after you've donated the 100 ringgit and join our class, you can also bring 3 friends in. All right. So you can bring your 3 friends to also join our online courses for free. All right. So far we have raised about nearly 140,000 ringgit. Not we raised. I mean, we have actually got you guys to actually donate about 140,000 ringgit to various charity organizations, right? And those who have actually donated are actually accessing to our ET Online campus where they actually learn investing for free. All right. So we hope to be able to raise 250,000. So please help us share this charity drive to as many friends as possible. This is where we are able to help those who are in need and at the same time equip yourself with investing knowledge and 3 of your friends. All right. So join us at charity.equitiestracker.com. Okay. One last thing is we also have this special package, especially this time of COVID season, this COVID lockdown that we have currently. So everything is now going more digital. So we are actually having a special package where everybody we hope them to be a stock market genius. So we have actually a genius package. And what's the package? Number one, you actually have access to our Equities Tracker platform where you are able to have a 10-year track records of financial information of all public listed companies in Malaysia, right? You can look at the turnaround stories, the dividends. You can do even market filters and so on and so forth. And you can also compare different sectors and so on. Now, the whole idea of using the tool is to basically you to make a research or analysis on companies' financials so that you become a well-informed investor. All right, that's the main thing. And if you do not know how to do it, and that's one of the reasons why we actually have our ET Online campus. That's where we teach you how to do it. All right, so this is the tool, and you also have a portfolio. Okay, if you already have a portfolio somewhere, you have an account, a trading account somewhere. We actually have a few brokers where you can link with. Okay, and this is a more comprehensive stock portfolio. Right, this is where you track the dividends. This is where you track your whether your objective is being met, what's your returns, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of things you can do here, right? And of course, that's where you can also check your average unit cost when you buy a share and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is basically like an assistant to you. Okay, now if you do not have a portfolio, it's okay, because once you have actually learned how we actually invest, we will also give you a model portfolio. Okay, but let's bear in mind this portfolio is not any advice to buy or sell. It's a portfolio for you to understand how we actually apply what we have learned, right? And how we actually choose shares and how do we manage portfolios. Because at the end of the day, the important thing is how you manage your portfolios, right? So we have 5 different portfolios. We have a 10,000 ringgit portfolio that you can follow. There's a 50,000 ringgit portfolio. There's a 200,000 and a 2 million ringgit portfolio. So no matter where you want to start, you can just follow any of these portfolios. All right. And we also have a special portfolio. We have a Sharia portfolio, actually, a 50K Sharia portfolio. So if you're if you're a Muslim and you want to follow and look at how a Sharia portfolio is being built, you can also follow that portfolio. Okay, these two portfolio is relatively quite new, right? We already started this week because we only started this whole Genius package this week as well. Okay, and most of these portfolios, they are real money, right? That means they are real portfolios. We have actually accounts for these, and we trade in the real markets. Okay, except for the Sharia portfolio because we don't really have time to set this up immediately. But eventually, we hope that this one will also be a live portfolio, so you can actually see how this portfolio actually, how it performed. Okay, and most importantly is how you can also develop your own portfolio later. Okay, and one thing that we want to achieve in this is that we want you to be able to achieve a portfolio which is much better than the model portfolio, right? Once you get the basics, you can continue to make it better. And a lot of some of our students who have been with us a very long time has actually built much better portfolio than this. But this would be the best base, all right? The best basics for you to actually learn how to build one. All right. So all this, at the end of the day, we also want you to really do in-depth data analysis, right? Because there's too much information out there, and the best information is still facts, right? Okay, real hard facts, and this is where you can get. This is where you have to analyze the data itself. All right. So we want you to. That's why we come up with our ET Online Campus, and together with this package. Okay. And every month we also have our monthly research. Okay. Every month, this is exclusively for our members. Like for example, this Saturday itself, we actually have a research insights on the semiconductor sector. All right. And this is exclusively only for our members. That means even if you are who have been with us for a very long time, or you have subscribed to our Genius package, then you are able to also attend to our exclusive research insights, right? And of course, we can also view the video after that, and we also publish reports every month so that you can read, right, about the companies and so on. And this is not news, right? This is actually in-depth research on the company or in that sector for us to make well-informed decisions. All right. So the package is very simple. This is all the tools that you can get. It's only 200 ringgit per month if you subscribe for a year. Okay, that means you pay 2,400 ringgit. Then it falls down to 200 ringgit a month. Okay, if you think that 1 year is too long, maybe you want to try out first, you can start with paying monthly, but the monthly is 240 a month. All right. So all you need to do, if you want more information about this and if you want to try out, all right, just go to equitystriker.com/free. All right, or just go to our equitystriker.com page or go to our Facebook page. You should be able to see the link there as well. All right, so it's equitystriker.com/free. And if you want to try out first, we're also able to give you a trial for 2 weeks, like what Andrew mentioned earlier. You can use the platform for 2 weeks, and then if you're ready, you can start subscribing. All right. So I hope that we are able to share, that you're able to join us, and also join us this weekend where we have our research insights on the semiconductor sector. All right. Okay, now let's get back. We only have about 5 minutes left, so some question for you, Andrew.
Yeah.
So that means there's a finite amount for Bitcoin, right? Now, okay, number one, why was Bitcoin created that way, right? Where it is being halved after like 25,000 blocks or something you mentioned. Why is it created that way? And is there a limit? And number two, do other cryptocurrencies follow the characteristic of a Bitcoin as well?
Yes, so I think I saw a question earlier from one of the viewers. Okay, so one, for Bitcoin, there is a limited supply, right? And that's probably why they term it mining, right? You're mining for gold, right? But now you're mining for like digital gold. So there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, right? So when I say the inflation rate, that means the release of Bitcoin into the monetary system, the Bitcoin network, the monetary system, or the Bitcoin monetary system, it is, releasing up to 21 million, and then there's no more Bitcoin that will be released, obviously. So there is a finite amount, and right now, over the last 10 years, it has released 18.3 million Bitcoin in circulation now, right? And they continue to release. So every time the halving happens, less Bitcoin gets released, right? So between now, for the next 2 point something million, between now and the year 2140, so it's roughly 120 years from now, that's when the 21 million will be released into the system.
Oh, so about 120 more years lah, still gone.
120 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, does it mean that, you know, because it's going to be half, right? The number of Bitcoins is going to be produced every 10 minutes. So the cost of mining is going to be higher, isn't it? And is it one of the reasons why Bitcoin will go up as well because of this cost?
Yeah. So okay. So actually, the other part that I forgot to answer, I think one of the someone asked is, what about Ethereum? Is there a limit as well? So Ethereum has no limit right now, right? So it is perpetually, just like our ringgit has no limit, the US has no limit. In fact, right now with unlimited QE, they can print as much money as they want, right? And they can just flood the market with money, and so that there is no limit. So when you think about Bitcoin, there's a finite amount. Ethereum, there is no finite amount. They will continue to release Ether into the Ethereum network. And then, sorry, what was that? The last question you mentioned?
Yeah, it was whether the other currencies are having the same the same character as Bitcoin as well. So they are different, right? Like you said, Ethereum doesn't have it doesn't have a cap, right?
Correct. Ethereum is a whole different story, which I won't talk about tonight, but they're transitioning into Ethereum 2.0 from a proof of work into a proof of stake. So yeah, that one we can do another night.
Okay. Well, so I think that's why there are a lot of those who are really into the crypto world, they're even thinking of Bitcoin, right? Prices going to like $100,000, $200,000 because because it's finite, right? It's not like at Ethereum where they can keep on producing the numbers, and because you have this scarcity, and that's the reason why I think a lot of people are when you talk about investing, they always talk about Bitcoin as an investment.
Yeah. Look, I think at Equities Tracker, ourselves, right? I know myself. We are asset class. Obviously, we look into stocks, right? But we also asset class agnostic in the sense that it's all about portfolio allocation, right? How do you allocate your portfolio, and then how you allocate your portfolio really depends on your risk appetite. So if you don't know enough about Bitcoin, then I say don't put your money in, right? Like, don't buy any Bitcoin because you don't know what you're buying. Obviously, at Equities Tracker, we're all about being data driven, about being an making informed investment decisions, right? So unless you know what you're getting into, then it's okay. Then the next step you want to, or next decision you might want to make is, well, how much allocation do I want to allocate in my Bitcoin, of Bitcoin in my total investment portfolio? Don't put 100%, right? You might, so that usually the best gauge that I tell everyone is, well, put enough so that you can still sleep at night and not worry, right? You don't want to stay up all night worrying about your investments. That's the gauge for your risk appetite. And that's kind of, yeah.
All right.
So yeah, go ahead.
You have another question that you found? You want to answer?
Yeah. So I think there was a question here. Sorry, I think I've lost it.
Okay. So, one of the question is, who built Bitcoin, right? Who created Bitcoin? When was it? And why was Bitcoin created in this manner?
Okay. This one is so everyone has heard of the name Satoshi Nakamoto. So Satoshi Nakamoto, till today, nobody knows who he was or who she was or who they were, right? So no one knows. It could have been one person, could have been male or female. It could have been a group of people, because the concepts and the theories and the skills needed to build Bitcoin would have taken, you'd have to be a polymath. You'd have to be really good in a lot of subject matters, right? You had to be good in economics. You had to be good in computer science. You had to be good in distributed computing. So So the person released the Bitcoin white paper in 2008, and it went online, right, on January 9th, January 3rd, 2009. That's when it came online. Now, it was built in a way so that you can remove the intermediary. Now, if you look at the history of the internet, right, a lot of successful businesses have been built on disintermediation, right? You remove the middleman because you can go straight to the consumer, to the end buyer, right? But it has also, so essentially what it is you are this in you are disintermediating trust, right? Because whenever you conduct a financial transaction, you need a bank, right? Because everybody trusts banks, right? Because banks are they are the foundation, right? They're trustworthy, they're regulated, so therefore you do it through a bank. But obviously, as if I mean, as history, as long as we can remember, it's not 100%, right? There are still kinks in the system. So obviously, the goal or the objective of the Bitcoin, or building Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network, was to disintermediate trust, right? So that you didn't need a big bank to intermediate between you and the person that you want to pay, right? So you don't have to talk to your bank doesn't have to talk to the other person's bank to do that. It allowed the computers, right, the distributed system, to talk to each other and do so. And obviously, the issue with anything digital is very easy to Control C, Control V, right? The copy and paste, right? So how nice if we just copy and paste money. What they managed to achieve is also with Bitcoin, like I said, it's limited supply, right? So you cannot Control C, Control V and make more money, make more Bitcoin for yourself, right? They found a way to only have a certain amount of Bitcoin. They don't allow you to create it. Yeah. So obviously, there's other expertise like cryptography and all that. So if that one person, he was a genius, right?
Yeah, I guess so, right? And that was in 2008, right?
Correct. Yeah. That was when the GFC hit and QE started. Yes.
Right. So yeah, it's crazy to really know if it's really one person. And I heard there's still there's an account belong to Satoshi. Is it still there, or like 1 million Bitcoin or something? And nobody's claiming it.
So apparently, Satoshi has a wallet address, right? And because Bitcoin is transparent, right? It's an open network. That 1 million Bitcoin has been unmoved since he disappeared, right? So that 1 million remains untouched since Satoshi disappeared off the face of the internet, right? Nobody knows who he is, where he is. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe his grandchildren will unlock that wallet one day and be multi-trillionaires.
Could it also be that the guy forgot his address and password?
Yes. In fact, among the Bitcoin circles, you will hear of people. In fact, in the earlier days, there's a famous story about this. In Sweden, of some guy who's dumpster diving, right? So what's dumpster diving is because back in those days, you store your Bitcoin on your hard drive on your desktop computer. So there was a story I read where his girlfriend threw it out because it was old, right? And he had a few thousand Bitcoin on there. And so he goes, where they throw all the rubbish. He's trying to this day, he's still trying to find his hard drive, apparently. So the myth goes.
Okay, we're gonna just answer 2 more questions because we're running out of time. We will have also a Mandarin session. Okay, one of the I think the questions is coming from here as well. Let me go and summarize this. It's the dark economy, right, or the black economy, because people think that because it's not going through the banks and it's now transaction between one person to another person. Will this also bring in all these illicit transactions? We talk about here, of course, like anti-money laundering and so on and so forth, right? So do you think that laundering can also be done on the Bitcoin in the network, in the crypto network?
Well,
How do they?
yeah, this is a very early in the early days of the dark web, when they had the Silk Road. I think Bitcoin was the preferred mode of payment, right? And that's probably the beginnings of where Bitcoin got it from. That where Bitcoin's always only used for money laundering, right? But if you actually look at facts, cash is the best form of money laundering. And in fact, any of you Netflix subscribers out there, can I get you to go on Netflix and search for the series called Dirty Money? And I think it's episode 3, where it talks about HSBC, where they were actually helping the Sinaloa cartel, one of the biggest cartels in the world, to launder I don't know how many $billion. And here's the kicker, right? The CEO and all the exec teams, they got let off with a slap on the wrist. Just don't do it again, okay? Nobody got charged. Everybody walked free, and they all got their bonuses. So to say that Bitcoin is used for money laundering, well, I suppose so are banks. I mean, and in fact, if you watch that episode, it's funny because there's the after hours deposit. So they purposely made sure that the after hours deposit can actually fit a suitcase, so that they can put cash in and deposit cash into it. So look, you can use Bitcoin for money laundering as anybody would, or you can also use cash to do that, or you can use the banking system. I don't think that there's any that there's no. It's just the stigma that's been attached to Bitcoin, right? Because in the early days, Bitcoin was the preferred, mode of payment. But cash has been with us for so long, right? And cash is also used for, and the banking system is also used for money laundering. So it doesn't matter what form or mode. The money launderers will find a way, lah.
Yeah, I guess as long as the market still exists, I think it will find its way. It doesn't matter which platform they want to use. I think. Yeah. Okay. So last question. Of course, we're just going to start a small poll later whether you've actually owned any Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. Is going to be up on your screen. So last question. There's because Bitcoin, I mean, this whole crypto network is supposed to be transparent as well, right? So you want to get information of how many miners there are, or how many exchanges that you can actually trade your cryptos. Where can we get this information?
You can always send us a WhatsApp message, right? You can always +603 8408 2070. Send us a message, pick number 3 for live chat, and then ask away. You can message us on Messenger, right? On Facebook. You can leave a post. Look, we're happy to share information.
All right, awesome. So you have any questions for our Crypto Futurist on our message, you can just type Crypto Futurist, I have a question for you, and then you just ask him the question, right?
Yes.
All right, guys, we are really running out of time. So we have our Mandarin session going on in our Mandarin Equity Striker Facebook page. So we also pin in our comment section. Please do attend our Mandarin session, which is going to begin now, actually. So thanks, Andrew. So I hope you guys have actually learned how of course this is just one part of it, and Andrew is only explaining the value on the payment gateway, right? There are actually many ways to actually find a value, and hopefully that Andrew's gonna share with us in our future Crypto Thursday Copy Time session. All right. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow on the next Copy Time. Tomorrow we're gonna have a session on the futures market, and we're gonna have a futures broker with us tomorrow. So please do join us. And once again, for any questions or whatsoever, just WhatsApp us at 603 8408 2070. All right, 603 8408 2070. That number will be pinned on our comment section as well. So have a good evening, and we'll see you again. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a nice evening. Bye.